Well, I'm just a spectator on all of this. I'm not obviously not a Tory supporter or a member or, you know...
But it's going to be your next Prime Minister.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I'm a spectator. I'm watching it from, I suppose, the position of the next Prime Minister rather than the next sort of Tory leader. I'll tell you what worries me about all of this is the amount of tax cutting that each candidate is talking about. You know, we're going to cut taxes. That worries me just because whenever we've had low tax Tories in the past, it comes with austerity. And I am concerned that with the cost of living crisis that we've got now, and then with, you know, pledges to cut taxes for some, it may leave us in a worse position. So I'm just watching all of them really to see what their views are on the cost of living crisis. And I think the cost of living crisis, people's everyday lives, are sort of coming a bit secondary in this debate, in the same way that it did in the Labour Party leadership election, when it got, I don't know if you remember the Labour Party leadership election, when it was Keir Starmer, when it absolutely ravelled itself up with issues around trans and Palestine in particular. And actually what that did is turn people off, because most people are not interested in those things. They're interested in their everyday things. And that's what I'm watching for with this leadership race, is who is going to do something about the cost of living crisis.
Yeah, but Lisa, you're wrong to say it's being ignored, because the cost of living crisis is at the heart of the argument about tax. Because the people who are saying you want to cut taxes are saying you need to cut the taxes that people are paying on things like fuel. You need to cut things like VAT. And so on, because it will help people with the cost of living crisis. And they're criticising Rishi because he wants to stick with the high taxes we've got. I mean, it's hard for him to back away from them because he was the Chancellor who introduced them. He wants to stick with the high taxes and start to pay off debt. So it's actually, the cost of living crisis is at the heart of this whole tax thing. So if you want high taxes, that's fine. You want to support Rishi. If you want to help people with the cost of living crisis, however, you might want low taxes. That's what you've got to think through, because it's ordinary people who pay the taxes.
And I think, you know, the tax cuts on petrol, you know, perhaps VAT cuts, but I think they've got to be very clear when they go into the studios and start debating on where these tax cuts are going to go, because the last thing we need is tax cuts that come out of local communities, that come out of hospitals or that come out of schools. So, you know, we need to make sure that the tax cuts are not cutting on public services or welfare, but actually they're sensible tax cuts. And you know, I'm just not sure that the next Tory Prime Minister will do that. They'll protect the services.